Santa coming soon. But Santa didn't sound like no cartoon. I heard the front door creak around midnight. Swear it was Santa. Boots hitting hardwood, voice deep like thunder. Mama whispered soft and loud, oh my God, wait a minute. Bedpost slamming like a drum, pictures rattling, whole damn house in it. Ooh, baby. I pulled the covers to my eyes, heart racing, scared as hell. Mama told me don't get out that bed, but I heard her losing breath. Oh my God, ooh, shit don't stop through the wall thick. Sounded like Santa Claus was heard. Mama beating her like a drumstick. I heard Santa Claus hurt Mama.
Ladies and gentlemen, space travelers, and all you freaky alien-looking motherfuckers. This is your boy Otis here. I'm short on cash, and my rent is fucking due. Time to make me some quick cash, baby, and I know just what to do. Time ago in a galaxy far away, my bills were piling fucking high, and there was no way to pay. I had to find a greasy hustle, had to spacewalk on the street to get me some fucking cash, baby, and maybe get some meat. I ain't giving none at all. I love a lady's touch, but I need the fucking money, and $20 is $20. So grease me up like C-3PO. I'm ready for the ride. Just hop deep inside my cockpit and take me for a ride. The return of the spread out, baby. My force is fucking strong. I'll drop my pants and grab my ankles while you do me wrong. I'll take your missile up my asshole. Tell me how you wanna play for only 20 fucking bucks. Blast and make sure you don't miss. I can play with your lightsaber while you take a piss. You want a little walkie action? No worries, I ain't shaved. Come inside my spread out temple and I'll be your galactic slave. My sex wing is parked out back. The seats are made of leather. I'll show you my spread out mind tricks. We can feel the force together. Or do not, baby. There is no fucking try. Put that cash in my hand. You can ride me fucking dry. The return of the spread out, baby. My force is fucking strong. I'll drop my pants and grab my ankles while you sing that song. I'll let you deep into my dark side. Let me show you the way for only 20 fucking bucks. Smackers, baby, that's all it'll cost. It ain't about the lifestyle, no, it's strictly for the rent. Every single bit of Otis is up for fucking rent. Strong. on. I'll drop my pants and grab my ankles while you hit that gong. I'll take your blaster up my asshole, but it don't make me fucking gay. Just slip me a 20 and I'll make your fucking day. A spread our strength flows from the force, baby. Let me feel that force flow all over my face.
Ain't no question, I'm suffering the bad case of lyrical congestion, not the one for testing. Come mess with it and end up with your chest split. No, not because of cardiac, but because of heartiac. I'm recognized as the microphone destroyer. Competition minds up in the state of paranoia. I told him if you're scared, go get a dorsal by tomorrow. You'll probably see 20 rappers walking with rock wallets. Your gimmick is primitive and impotent. You won't win with it, so limited. Before I make your body start to hemorrhage. Just when you thought that you was burning me, you found yourself bleeding internally. Now your heads is learning, see. I stay in there sincere, you can miss prayer. Your heart begins fear, cause there ain't no wins here. Never kid, cause even with leverage, I can rock your dome piece worse than the WAP ever did. What? Ask me to blast, no need to ask, cause I'm mashing. Peeping the latest fashion, copycats and plastics, get me the flash. My adversary shifting caskets, murdered them bastards. Witness the past, got bombastic, now that they free me. No one can see me, I completely eradicated my competition, Father forgive me. Assemble the troops, prepare my loops for combustion. Rushing the motherfuckers, the deadliest nigga bust. How can they test me when they lost in thought? On death row, we lock shit down across the board. Now flash and watch me getting that ass like a bikini. Lyrically legendary, so niggas will never see me completely defeat me. Could never happen whether rapping or scrapping, niggas get smashed on they motherfucking back. Hard to kill, and even harder to stop. Watch Kane and Pop drop the show shot. Tell them motherfuckers. Here's how we'll do it. Let me just in the pen and put the cash in the hand so that I can spend the grand and Benjamin's up in Japan or Yin's the man. In their form of Lucci, eating sushi, checking out a subtitle movie featuring Shokizumi. Tell me, Kane, what will niggas learn? In this game, fuck with us, niggas getting burned. We taking turns on you bitch-made nigga roles. I hope it hurts cause you worse than these groupie hoes. Oh, one more time, baby. I'll be forever the go-getter of the cheddar. Thinking ahead of my competitors, just too clever to sever. I got it together to represent with my true name. The first syllables of our name together is too big. Think about that.
Case was a crusty little circle staring me right in the face. It wasn't spilled milk, it wasn't fucking drool. Are you taking this woman for a fool? Is that jizz on my pillow? Baby, tell me the truth, is that jizz on my pillow? What the fuck did you do? It's crunchy, it's crusty, it's shiny and it's gray. You better start talking before I throw these sheets away. You claim it's body lotion or some hair care cream, but it didn't get that crispy from your skincare routine. I know you had a moment when my ass wasn't home, but did you have to wipe your dick on my good fucking pillow? You had the whole house to your fucking self. Why can't you use the bathroom like everybody else? Is that jizz on my pillow? Baby, tell me the truth. Is that jizz on my pillow? What the fuck did you do? It's crunchy, it's crusty, it's salty and it's sweet. You better start talking before I burn these fucking sheets. You're standing there shaking, looking guilty as hell. I don't need no lab coat to know that funky ass smell. You didn't even try to clean it or wipe up all that mess. You could've used a cum sock, would've saved me all this distress. It must've went off like a fire hose. That shit is everywhere. There's cum on every surface from the TV to the chair. You didn't just hit my pillow. That small stain wasn't it all. It's on my fancy curtains to end up the goddamn try and catch my breath and stepped in another wet patch that scared me half to death. It's on the coffee table in the armrest of the chair. Your dirty ass has been jacking off every fucking way. Go pack up all your nasty shit and all your porno VHS and get the fuck out of my house. I'm done cleaning up your mess. That was jizz on my pillow. Baby, I know the truth. That was jizz on my pillow. Wasn't no fucking shit.
Get ready for some vertical action, folks. Our contestants are about to battle it out amid the skyscrapers of Seoul. Radiant, the Kingfish, the Steamrollers, the High Notes, and finally, the Vogues. The energy is electric. Let's dive in.
This is the beginning of round one in the tournament, and the margin for error is thin.
If clean execution matters, the Vogues are set up well here, and I'm interested to see how far they take it. Drilling into Vault 2, it's the Steamrollers.
Our first elimination showed tight control. The Steamrollers are already in motion. That's our first Steamroller marking a pivotal moment.
A tough hit for the Kingfish. The High Notes swooped up a cash box.
Calling out your name. Do you hear me? Do you want me? Baby, it's all or nothing now. Don't wanna run, I can't walk out. Breaking my heart if you leave me now. Don't wanna wait forever. Who do you think you're?
The High Notes have started a cash out. Attack on A, steal it.
Now she's gone. What is this magic that we see? The night is strong, body weak. Every good man, every bad
Kingfish just made their return to the arena.
Time for a crushing comeback. The Steamrollers better be ready to face the music.
The Steamrollers are making their play with momentum rising. Time to step up or step out for the Vogues. They've shown a lot of character today, June. Recovering isn't easy in the finals. And steal a catch out.
They're signaling something, Scotty. They're saying game on.
The Hideouts are back and ready to avenge that team wipe. Steamrollers in this round. They'll have to keep from getting flattened in the next match.
And after a commendable performance,
mind all day, baby. Don't act shy now. Let me see them.
Teddy, clock it out early when you sent that snap. Little open-toe sandals made my whole shift collapse. Yeah, supervisor talking, but Teddy wasn't hearing that. All Teddy seen was them toes peeping through them straps. Ooh, didn't even eat, left the stove where it sat. Mine stuck on them toes like a grown man trap. Came home with intention, warm oil in my hand. Girl, Teddy, ma rub them feet till you forget how to stand. Yeah, girl, them feet's been carrying stress all week. Teddy can see it in your limp, them toes is looking weak. Don't hide them, don't tuck them away. Teddy bout to bless them in a grown man way. Warm oil drip slow in my big old palm. When Teddy hit that heel, you gon' lose your calm. Middle toe twitch when Teddy pressed that nerve. That little shake you do, girl, Teddy observe. Ooh, don't curls them yet, let Teddy study them bones. Teddy done mapped them pressure points like GPS zones. Yeah, you think it's funny, Teddy dead ass no cap. Go ahead and put them feet right here on Teddy lap. Kick back, spread them toes as wide. Let Teddy get lost on that soft inside. You ain't gotta talk, Teddy knows that love. When them toes is curl up, Teddy got you hooked. Yeah, I felt that toe jamming, slow jamming. Thumbs pressed deep at the base while Teddy holding it steady. Work that bottom in circles, tension melting already. Toes will start curling. Teddy know when you're ready. Toe jamming, no capping. Shift that pressure point right, got your whole body reacting. Slide from heel to them toes is now Teddy gently attacking. Teddy pulls them to his lips. Ain't no shame in my passion. Let me taste that softness. Girl, them feet stretch it out. Teddy got full command. Soft skin glistening under Teddy hand. Yeah, Teddy start with the pinky, work his way down. Each little toes is getting royal treatment now. Ooh, Teddy ain't rushing nothing, he patient with it. Rub small circles, rotation with it. When Teddy dragged his thumb across that tender spot, you inhale sharp like ooh, don't stop. And that little tremble travel up your thigh. Teddy see them eyes is roll, that don't lie. Yeah, you ain't no feats could feel like that. But Teddy done studied, that's straight facts. Teddy pressed that one little nerve under that second toe. Whole leg stiffen up, now you're losing control. Don't snatch them toes now. Kick back, spread them toes as wide. Let Teddy get lost on that soft inside.
When them toes is curl up, Banks got you hooked. Yeah, stay right there. Toe jamming, slow jamming. Thumbs pressed deep at the base while Teddy holding it steady. Work that bottom in circles, tension melting already. Toes will start curling. Teddy know when you're ready. Toe jamming, no capping. Shift that pressure point right, got your whole body reacting. Slide from heel to them toes is now Teddy gently attacking. Teddy pulls him to his lips. Ain't no shame in my passion. Don't pull him back now. Girl, don't judge a man by his cravings. Don't judge a man by his cravings. Teddy see beauty in them souls you've been saving. They soft like butter, built like art. Every little toe got a special part. Big country boy with a foot fetish pride. Certified hands, I ain't gotta hide. Slow jamming, thumbs pressed deep at the base while Teddy holding it steady. Work that bottom in circles, tension melting already. Toes will start curling. Teddy know when you're ready. Toe jamming, no capping. Shift that pressure point right, got your whole body reacting. Slide from heel to them toes is now Teddy gently attacking. Teddy pulls him to his lips. Ain't no shame in my passion. Them toes is mine tonight. Lay back. Let Teddy handle them feet. Teddy ain't rushing nothing. He might get ignorant down there. Toe jam, slow jam. You ain't never had it done like this. That sway in your hips like a bassline groove down low. Jeans holding on like they scared to let go. Teddy Blink did it twice. Ooh, yeah.
tell y'all what the fuck just happened to a nigga. She was bad, I mean bad, tall, thick, built like Thanksgiving. Whole time she flirting, I'm flirting, vibe was strong. I bought her lemon pepper wings, 2 sides, gave her my good ranch.
Of a ride, put her in that white sand when that pride, keep the pistol on the side, in the Lamborghini smoking on that la. She got her hair in the wind, eyebrows on fleek, 1-5, Bonnie and Clyde, Nikki and Meek. I gave her keys to the condo, keys to the Jeep. Say you jingling, baby, gave her the whole damn fleet.
I'll always ride for you, baby. And if shit get hard, you know I'll put right on the side of you, baby. Yeah, I met him in the dope game. He ain't had no name. Back when you can get a half or a whole thing.
Back when all we ever needed was the cocaine. Bricks in the 600, why they call me road game. 40 in the stead ash, fuck around and be roadkill with the top down, feeling like my bitches of a rider. My bitches of a rider. My bitches of a rider. My bitches of a rider.
Yeah, my bitches of a rider. No whip, now we in a rape road rage. Keep a gangster price, hit one of them cold things. With you, no, I ain't mad at you. Get out of line, probably throw a couple jabs at him.
Hero Dale probably throw a couple bags at you. In my Tupac voice, I ain't mad at you. Take the wheel, see if you can drive while I eat it. My fitted flew off, but I don't need it. Tell me what I need.
You need a bitch that's gon' blast, spend cash with you. Same time, fuck good, drop ass for you. Yeah, riding like ride out of ride. He eat the pussy like la 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 la.
Why you gotta tell a nigga business? Fine nigga Friday, you know a nigga live this. Hit you with the helicopter tongue, then fuck you till the helicopter come. My bitches of a rider. My bitches of a rider. My bitches of a rider. My bitches of a rider.
Yeah, my bitches of a rider.
One look and I got her. Hitting corners in my Impala.
My bitches of a rider.
Sliding down that pole for $1. Nada. Tell that girl holla.
My bitches of a rider.
I done brought the thug life out her. Got her stuffing bricks in that pride.
My bitches of a rider.
And she love when I'm inside her. And can't nobody divide her. My bitches of a rider. My bitches of a rider. My bitches of a rider. My bitches of a rider.
Yeah, my bitches of a rider. bitches of a ride, put her in that white sand when that pride,
keep the pistol on the side, in the Lamborghini smoking on that la. She got her hair in the wind, eyebrows on fleek, 1-5, Bonnie and Clyde, Nikki and Meek. I gave her keys to the condo, keys to the Jeep. Say you jingling, baby, gave her the whole damn fleet.
I'll always ride for you, baby. And if shit get hard, you know I'll put right on the side of you, baby. Yeah, I met him in the dope game. He ain't had no name. Back when you can get a half or a whole thing.
Back when all we ever needed was the cocaine. Bricks in the 600, why they call me road game. 40 in the stead ash, fuck around and be roadkill. With the top down, feeling like my bitches of a rider. My bitches of a rider. My bitches of a rider. My bitches of a rider.
Yeah, my bitches of a rider. No whip, now we in a rape road rage. Keep a gangster price, hit one of them cold things. With you, no, I ain't mad at you. Get out of line, right, throw a couple jabs at him.
Hero Dale probably throw a couple bags at you. In my Tupac voice, I ain't mad at you. Take the wheel, see if you can drive while I eat it. My fitted flew off, but I don't need it. Tell me what I need.
You need a bitch that's gon' blast, spin cash with you. Same time, fuck good, drop ass for you. Yeah, riding like ride. He eat the pussy like la.
Why you gotta tell a nigga business? Fine nigga Friday, you know a nigga live this. Hit you with the helicopter tongue, then fuck you till the helicopter come. My bitches of a rider. My bitches of a rider. My bitches of a rider. My bitches of a rider.
Yeah, my bitches of a rider.
One look and I got her. Hitting corners in my Impala.
My bitches of a rider.
Sliding down that pole for $1, nada. Tell that girl holla.
My bitches of a rider.
I done brought the thug life out her. Got her stuffing bricks in that pride.
My bitches of a rider.
And she love when I'm inside her. And can't nobody divide her. My bitches of a rider. My bitches of a rider. My bitches of a rider. My bitches of a rider.
Yeah, my bitches of a rider.
It's an early morning of February 24th, 2022. On the territory of Belarus, right near the Ukrainian border, the elements of the Russian 35th and 36th Combined Arms Armies are preparing for something that will later become known as the largest war in Europe since World War II. Altogether, the two armies include, but not limited to, units from the 36th, 37th, 38th and 64th Motor Rifle, the 31st and 11th Guards Airborne, 40th and 155th Marine, the 165th Artillery, the 107th Rocket Artillery, and the 5th Tank Brigades, and a known number of soldiers from the Russian PMCs, such as Wagner and Redut, were also involved, as well as various Russian National Guard regiments. In total, it's somewhere between 35 to 50,000 troops, hundreds of tanks, IFVs, APCs, and other vehicles, as well as considerable amount of artillery. Pretty much any ground object in the north of Ukraine is within the range of the Russian attack aircraft, such as Su-25s, Su-24s, and Su-34s. 260s and 295 strategic bombers circle nearby, ready to launch dozens of cruise missiles. Fighter jets, such as modernized Su-27s, Su-30s, and Su-35s, are ready to achieve air superiority in the first hours of the invasion, operating from the bases of the Belarusian Air Force, Russia meticulously gathered its invasion force here for months, calling it a military exercise, and now they are ready to attack the heart of Ukraine, its capital, Kyiv. Just minutes after the President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, declares his special military operation, or simply full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Russian bombers, as well as ground missile launchers, sent over 100 cruise and ballistic missiles towards military objects across Ukraine. Air Force bases, ammunition depots, SAM sites, communication and command centers of the Ukrainian military are the priority targets. In Kyiv, missiles hit military and civilian objects inside the city, as well as 3 main airports around the capital and the Ukrainian Air Force base at Pasalkiv. Russian attack aircraft, armed with air-to-ground missiles, also crossed the Ukrainian border in multiple locations, operating from Belarus territory. They quickly get to the airfields to destroy Ukrainian Air Force on the ground and suppress air defenses that were not destroyed by missile strikes. Lieutenant General Anatoly Krivonoshko, the head of the Ukrainian Central Air Force Command, lies in a hospital bed in Kyiv on February 24th, recovering from severe coronavirus. At 5:15 a.m., when the first Russian missiles reach military infrastructure, he rushes from the hospital right to the Vasilkiv airfield near Kyiv. It's a base of the 40th Tactical Aviation and 138th Radiotechnical Air Defense Brigades that are responsible for defending the skies above the capital. Working remotely for the last couple of weeks, Lieutenant General managed to secretly relocate some fraction of the Ukrainian aviation and SAM systems in preparation for the Russian attack, but the strategic object is still in great danger. Upon arriving, Krivonoshko sees that the barracks of the 138th Radiotechnical Brigade are destroyed because the air raid sirens were not turned on. Miraculously, 50 people sleeping in it survived and are about to start operating designated air defense systems. Meanwhile, Vyacheslav Rodionov is the first fighter pilot of the 40th Tactical Aviation Brigade that manages to get to his miraculously undamaged MiG-29 fighter. He races the jet into the skies and sees that multiple Russian attack aircraft are approaching to finish the missile's job. He engages in air combat with invaders, buying time for the rest of the pilots. The whole brigade, which has around 16 MiG-29s, successfully gets into the air, rendering useless the attempts to destroy them on the ground. While distracting the enemy and covering other pilots, Vyacheslav Rodionov was shot down by the Russian fighter jet. He will be posthumously awarded the title of Hero of Ukraine and Golden Star Medal. For the weeks from now on, Ukrainian pilots fly 3 to 4 sorties a day to engage Russian Air Force that outnumbers them 10 to 1, Krivonoshko later says in the interview. They often skip pre-flight checks and take off from shortened runways that have been just repaired overnight after being damaged. This, however, does not prevent Russian military command from reporting that all Ukrainian air defenses, as well as Air Force, are destroyed on the first day of the invasion. Such false information will hurt invaders more than defenders, as it creates a false impression of safety for the Russian Air Force in contested airspace. In reality, Ukrainians suffer significant losses but still contest the skies over the whole area of the country. On February 24th only, 3 more pilots of the 40th Tactical Aviation Brigade do not come back from their missions of the patrol in the skies above the capital. For their actions, each of the MiG-29 pilots, Vyacheslav Yurko, Roman Pasulka, and Volodymyr Kokhansky, will be posthumously awarded the title of Hero of Ukraine and the Golden Star Medal. This also applies to all other pilots that lost their lives while defending the capital. Worth noting that the 39th Brigade of the Tactical Aviation from Ozerny Air Base in the nearby Zhytomyr region was also fighting in the skies of the capital and lost 1 MiG-29 piloted by Eduard Poharovsky and L-39 piloted by Dmytro Kolomeets. At 7 a.m. on February 24th, a scheduled shift change for the workers of the Chernobyl power plant was cancelled, as they were informed that Russia has launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. That morning, there were around 300 people within the exclusion zone, including nuclear staff, medical staff, firefighters, 169 National Guard of Ukraine soldiers, and 4 tourists. A few hours later, elements of the Russian 35th Combined Arms Army, that has been stationed in Belarus, crossed the Ukrainian border in multiple locations. At the same time, elements of the 36th Combined Arms Army attacked Chernihiv and also moved towards Kyiv on the western bank of the Dnipro River. Without much resistance, by 2 p.m., Russians encircled the notorious Chernobyl nuclear power plant and its administrative buildings. The National Guard units stationed on the territory of the power plant are severely outnumbered, so they set up improvised barricades and wait for what will happen next. In the following hours, it becomes clear that no reinforcements will arrive, since they're in the middle of the 2,600 square kilometers exclusion zone, with no Ukrainian forces even remotely close to them. National Guard commanders and the staff administration are also responsible for the safety of a nuclear power plant, so they negotiate the surrender with the Russian forces to prevent damage to the facility. The Ukrainian 80th Air Assault Brigade was the closest one to the exclusion zone. However, as it becomes clear that Chernobyl fell, the Ukrainian troops retreat behind Uch River and blow up 2 bridges over it. This allows units of the 80th Brigade to hold much more numerous Russian forces and choose a more favorable place to meet the enemy. Understanding that invaders will quickly set up pontoon bridges, they come up with a plan of defending the city of Ivankiv, as it's likely the next target. Worth noting that Russian electronic warfare systems were crippling Ukrainian communications during the first days of the invasion, so many military units of the defenders had to act almost independently. Simultaneously with the attack on Chernobyl, at 9:30 am on February 24th, more than 30 low-flying attack and transport helicopters crossed the Ukrainian border and traveled towards Kyiv above the Dnipro River. Their mission is to capture Hostomel airport just 10 kilometers from the capital. The units of the Elite 76 Guards Air Assault Brigade must arrive on the 18 IL-76 strategic airlifters and enter Kyiv in decapitating attack that would end organized resistance of the Ukrainians. Suffering losses of 2 helicopters due to Ukrainian air defense on their way, an air raid group arrives and attacks Hostomel airport, performing a drop-off of between 200 and 300 men from the Russian 31st Guards Airborne Assault and 11 separate Guards Air Assault Brigades. Surprisingly for the invaders, the Ukrainian 4th Special Rapid Reaction Brigade, as well as other units stationed on the territory of the airport, shot down 6 more helicopters and resist long enough to allow units of the Ukrainian 72nd Mechanized Brigade, 80th and 95th Separate Airborne Brigades to deploy and encircle Hostomel Airport at approximately 3:30 p.m. The runway was heavily damaged by intense air and artillery strikes, rendering the initial plan of deploying the 76th Guards Air Assault Brigade near the city using IL-76 aircraft impossible. In particular, Ukrainians strike the airport with bombs from at least 2 Su-24 aircraft of the 7th Tactical Aviation Brigade, losing 1 plane and 2 pilots in it, Dmitry Kulikov and Nikolai Savchuk. The Ukrainian counterattack forces Russian VDV that were holding Hostomel airport to retreat into nearby forests and fields, so the Russian military command has to come up with a new plan for how to take the airfield again and save the remaining VDV troops near Kyiv. They also abort the mission of delivering more forces into the area by air, and all the planes which had departed from Pskov landed in Belarus. The Russian forces in these planes now invade Ukraine by land. On the second day of the invasion, Russian forces continue their blitzkrieg towards Kyiv. The pontoon bridges over the Uch River allow moving forces that took over Chernobyl deeper into Ukraine, so a convoy of the 5th Separate Guards Tank and 155th Separate Marine Brigades that move from the northwest plans to meet with Russian National Guard units that move from the northeast in the town of Ivankiv. Near the city, they plan to secure another key bridge, this time across the Tatarev River. Ukrainians set up ambushes on the forests and roads around Ivankiv to inflict maximum casualties for the enemy. In one of the documented examples, T-64s and BMP-1s of the 80th Air Assault Brigade, as well as troops with British-made and Loy TGMs, attacked the enemy on the circular intersection near the bridge. Invaders sustain first casualties and have to regroup, waiting for reinforcements. However, north of Ivankiv, the Russian National Guard was also ambushed and halted. Ukrainians, however, have neither enough men nor enough vehicles to effectively push back the enemy, so a column of invaders eventually bypasses Ivankiv and moves towards Kyiv. Shortly after that, the bridge across Teterif River is blown up by Ukrainians to prevent more forces from getting across. After that, Russians also advanced to the west of Ivankiv to secure another bridge in Kukhari village, but it's also quickly blown up. The skirmishes around the town continue till February 27th, when the Ukrainians have to completely retreat from Ivankiv, taking the positions to the west of it. Russians set up pontoon river crossings, but their carrying capacity is quite low, which creates first logistical issues. The forces that broke through Ivankiv on February 25th consisted mostly of the 5th Tank Brigade, reinforced with OMON and SOBR, which are special police units integrated with Russian National Guard. It's still unclear if the deployment of the Russian anti-riot police on the spearhead of the attack was a strategic blunder or a sign of confidence that Kyiv will imminently fall and it will be necessary to suppress protests inside the capital right away. Another interesting military unit that moved in this column was the 131st Special Motorized Regiment, which is essentially a personal army of Ramzan Kadyrov, the head of the Chechen Republic in Russia. Even though these forces are officially integrated into National Guard, they acted more independently and by many accounts had special mission of assassinating the president of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky. Knowing that from intelligence, President of Ukraine, however, stays in the capital, declining multiple offers from allies to evacuate him to the other country or just even to the western part of Ukraine.
Я тут, ніяку зброю ми не складемо, будемо захищати нашу державу, тому що наша зброя – це наша правда. Наша правда в тому, що це наша земля, наша країна, наші діти, і ми все це будемо захищати.
This decision is also crucial for the defense of Kyiv, as it shows the unity of the government, armed forces, and common citizens in the face of existential danger. This pivotal moment is summarized in Zelensky's phrase said to the US representatives: "The fight is here. I need ammunition, not a right." On February 25th, the convoy that bypassed Ivankiv travels on the PO2 highway to Fenivichi, and then splits to take control over Dimir, Demidov, Borodyanka, and eventually Hostomel airport. Soon, Russian forces reach Dvizhivka. Then, they push Ukrainians out of Hostomel airport, turning it into their forward operating base for an advance into Kyiv. The airport, however, is constantly attacked by Ukrainian artillery of the 43rd Artillery Brigade, 72nd Mechanized Brigade, and 128th Assault Brigade, which causes significant Russian casualties there. At 8 am on February 25th, one part of the eastern convoy, which almost exclusively consisted of the above-mentioned OMON and SOBR units from the Russian city of Kemerovo, suddenly finds themselves in the head of the column due to miscommunication. The force of approximately 80 men turned out to be behind the enemy lines as they missed the turn to Hostomel airport. However, all instructions that they received were go to Kyiv, and we will tell you what to do when you get there. So the column continues its way right into the capital. As the convoy crosses Irpin River, chaos erupts when the artillery shells start exploding around. Mortar shells rain down as well, anti-tank missiles streak through the air, and hailstorm of bullets unleashes from all directions. Russian forces got right into the ambush of city defenders, who tear apart lightly armed trucks from well-hidden positions near the road. As the head vehicle of the column is disabled, Russians have nothing to do but jump out. Eventually, no vehicles survive the ambush, and only 3 out of approximately 80 Russian special police operatives survive in this short battle. They are taken as prisoners by Ukrainian forces, and this story is told from their testimonies. Unlike the convoy which headed to the capital because of poor communication and command, many sabotage and reconnaissance groups enter Kyiv during the day and night with special missions. They travel on civilian cars and even Ukrainian vehicles captured in Chernobyl, with the intent to destabilize the situation by creating a false impression that the major Russian forces are already in the city. Territorial Defense Forces, more specifically 112th, 114th, and 231st Territorial Defense Brigades, fight back, but in total mayhem, friendly fire incidents are also common. Many Russian saboteurs that were sent to Kyiv before the war are also activated. Critical situation in the capital forces the Ukrainian government to distribute guns to anyone who can prove their citizenship. A risky move that eventually paid off, as by the end of the day, defenders liquidated over 60 saboteurs. From a political standpoint, the fact that people are willing to defend the state from an attack instead of turning weapons against it demonstrates the unity between the government and its citizens in support of defense efforts. Therefore, the chaos that erupted with the arrival of saboteurs soon disappears as full control of the city is in the hands of its residents, who are now armed and ready to defend Kyiv. Two Ukrainian special units, the Separate Presidential Brigade and the 101st Guards Brigade of the General Staff, which are responsible for defending the president and the highest military command, are also deployed to the outskirts of Kyiv to prevent infiltration attempts. They will engage in the battles around the capital, even though they were created as more security-centered and ceremonial part of the military. In addition, on February 25th, Russian fighter aircraft began bombarding central Kyiv. Missile barrage also reaches buildings in the residential areas. In the skies above the capital, a Ukrainian Su-27, piloted by Alexander Oksanchenko, nicknamed Grey Wolf, a famous displayed pilot who came back from retirement to defend Ukraine, was shot down while diverting the attack. The great loss, however, also proves the fact that Ukraine Air Force continues to defend the country against all the odds. During the night of February 25th and morning of February 26th, Russian sabotage groups infiltrate the city of Vasilkiv, most likely to disable the airbase of the Ukrainian Air Force. Many sources mention Russian paratroopers that landed there, and a few shot down Il-76 airlifters that were carrying them. Considering the fact that there is no evidence of downed planes of this type in the area, is highly unlikely. The saboteurs rather used the chaos and gaps in defenses to attack the airbase west of Kyiv in small groups. By some accounts, Vasilkiv was infiltrated by Alpha Group, one of the FSB special operation units. In the town, they faced stiff resistance of the local territorial defense forces, 138th Special Purpose Center Regiment, and military airfield staff of the 40th Tactical Aviation Brigade. The newly formed Azov Territorial Defense Unit also arrives from Kyiv and joins city defenders, so the invaders are forced to retreat from the town by the end of the day. On the morning of February 27th, a convoy of Russian vehicles more than 4.8 kilometers long was seen on satellite images heading towards Ivankiv. By February 28th, the convoy will grow to around 64 kilometers. Over 2,000 tanks, infantry fighting vehicles, infantry mobility vehicles, armored personnel carriers, and supply trucks are effectively stuck on the roads as muddy fields look like even worse alternative to travel on. This happens because Russia exhausted its immediate stockpiles of pontoon bridges and needs time to find and deliver more to the front lines to expand carrying capacity and replace destroyed ones. The troops, which are essentially stuck in the huge traffic jams, start suffering from shortages of food, fuel, and ammunition. The auxiliary supply columns that take detours are usually ambushed by Ukrainian forces, who, in a matter of days, have managed to turn the greatest Russian strength, which is the number of vehicles and men, into their greatest weakness. Fragile supply lines and accumulations of vehicles are also attacked by Ukrainian Air Force, which destroys whole columns of armor with Su-24 and Su-25 ground attack aircraft. However, not without losses. Su-25, called 39 Blue, operated by 299th Tactical Aviation Brigade, was shot down near the village of Khlibivka. The pilot, Gennady Matulyak, did not survive. By the morning of February 27th, the Russians finally accumulated what they saw as necessary amount of forces for breaking through Bucha, Irpin, and Hostomel and entering Kyiv. They launched an attack on Hostomel first, with units of the elite 31st Guards Air Assault Brigade and Chechen 131st Motorized Regiment. Russian troops entered the city and engaged in urban warfare with the Ukrainian 80th and 79th Air Assault Brigades, Georgian Legion, Territorial Defense Brigades, and various special operation units. Part of the Chechen forces, which were supposed to assassinate the president of Ukraine, were also ambushed in Hostomel by Ukrainian Special Operation Forces. Controlling about half of Hostomel, as of February 27th, Russians attacked the nearby town of Bucha. The defenders prepared for this and tried to blow up the only bridge linking the two towns, but failed due to a small number of explosives available. The assault is executed by units of the 76th Guards Air Assault and 7th Guards Mountain Air Assault Divisions, and the above-mentioned Chechen 141st Motorized Regiment. Against them were volunteers who just joined 114th Territorial Defense Brigade. While uniting their efforts, around local professional military officers in retirement. The Ukrainian armed forces were still busy holding much more numerous Russian troops to the east and west, so Bucha residents will start the battle almost alone. Out of 20 people, the vast majority have no combat experience, except for 2 professional soldiers, 5 Donbass war veterans, and 1 police officer. Their plan is simple: disperse in small groups around the intersection near Novos supermarket, ambush the enemy, inflict as much damage as possible, and retreat. Around 7 am, the column of around 150 vehicles, including armored personnel carriers, tanks, trucks, patrol tankers, and bridging vehicles, crosses the bridge and enters Bucha. Then, around 50 vehicles follow Vokzalna Street, while the majority of them, around 100 vehicles, turn on the left and try to bypass town to get to Kyiv. The first vehicle flies past the intersection at high speed. A Ukrainian grenadier spontaneously chooses the third vehicle and scores a direct hit. His job is done, so he retreats. Since he was shooting from under the local monument of international soldiers, Russians opened fire at the non-operational BRDM-2 armored scout car that was part of the monument. As the convoy was forced to stop, 4 other intersection defenders throw Molotov cocktails at the vehicles inside the convoy from behind the fences, and one of the infantry fighting vehicles catches fire. Convoy immediately switches their attention to those 4, wounding one of them. The second group of the defenders opens fire with small arms from the other side of the street, diverting attention and allowing the first group to retreat with the wounded man. Then the second group breaks contact and jumps into the car, retreating as well, while unsuccessfully being chased by Russian APCs. Moving more carefully, the Russians continue their advance towards Irpin. This slowdown, however, allows Ukrainians to prepare for the next ambush. The above-mentioned group of defenders overtakes the Russian column using their knowledge of the town and quickly gets to the Giraffe shopping center on the border of Irpin and Bucha. There, they finally meet the reinforcements of around 70 men, which are a wild combination of local volunteers, including the Irpin mayor, National Guard soldiers, the armed forces, and the 8th Separate Special Forces Regiment. The group blocked the street with a bulldozer and cement mixer, setting up machine gun nests and hiding APCs on the sides of the road. Together, they ambushed the first Russian vehicle at 9 am with a grenade launcher and opened fire with all weapons that they have, while the Russians tried to back up and maneuver on the narrow street. Some invaders tried to outflank Ukrainians to the brick factory, but ultimately failed. The others hid in the shopping mall, while the European defenders started moving towards the enemy. Russians, who started backing up early, almost escaped, but the artillery of the Ukrainian 128th Assault Brigade finally gets coordinates from the Irpin defenders and targets the column, demolishing the bridge that links Bucha and Irpin. TB2 Bayraktar drones also score a couple of hits on the vehicles in the column. In addition, the practically stalled convoy is also attacked by 2 Ukrainian Su-24 bombers. On the way back after dropping their bombs, a plane with a call sign Y-77 from the 7th Tactical Aviation Brigade was shot down. The pilots, Ruslan Belouz and Roman Dovhaluk, did not survive. Out of over 50 Russian vehicles, only a few returned back to Hostomel airport. The Vokzalna Street became the graveyard for over 100 elite Russian VDV soldiers who were stopped due to efforts of volunteers from Bucha.
Україні! Героям слава!
Третя наша трофейна. Красавчики, молодці! Це їм наваляли, блін. Господи, вчора це все ціленьке було ще. Ай, блин, не успели мыть пацана, блин. Не успели чуть-чуть. Дивіться, ви тільки подивіться. Люди просто мирно жили, нікого не чіпали. Прийшли оці тварюки. Вона спалила оцю їхню БМД-ху. А там наша Буча. Ми все повернемо. Горіти буде земля під ними, тварі. Прості люди, не військові, б'ються за свою землю. Слава Україні!
The first blitz attack on Kyiv outskirt towns has failed. The main reason for that are lack of reconnaissance and overconfidence of elite Russian VDV units, who disregarded all the complexity of urban warfare in their initial plans. Invaders, however, learn and adjust their tactics, using their advantage in artillery and aviation to slowly grind into the towns instead of trying to rush through them in convoys. The progress, however, is still unsatisfactory, so a big fraction of Russian forces are thrown to the western flank, where their columns enter Borodyanka. After brief skirmishes, most likely with territorial defense forces and small groups of armed forces of Ukraine, they continue their way towards M06 highway, which connects Kyiv to another big city called Zhytomyr. It becomes clear that they plan to encircle the capital and cut out the supply lines of the defenders to facilitate the city assault.
These are 5 pivotal battles of the Russia-Ukraine war that help explain why the conflict is where it is today. Let's start at the beginning. Welcome to the battle for Hostomel Airfield, the battle that decided the fate of Ukraine. Before we get into the battle itself, let's take a look at the Russian plan. Using dozens of helicopters based in Belarus, hundreds of crack paratroopers will be flown to the airfield to seize it and its runway. Once secure, the runway will be used to land transport planes carrying around 1,000 more soldiers from Russia itself in an operation known as an airlift. A third wave of reinforcements will then arrive overland from Belarus. This combined force will advance into the capital, kill or capture the Ukrainian government, and from there, take over the country. At least, that's the plan. This is the blow-by-blow account of the battle that saved Ukraine from immediate collapse and the tactics that ensured Ukrainian victory. This is the battle for Hostomel Airfield, and this is Battleboard. We're now looking at a close-up map of Ukraine. You can see the Belarus border and where the Dnipro River crosses it and how it flows down into the Ukrainian capital. And this is Hostomel Airfield, a large airstrip about 15 miles from the center. As the clock ticks over to 0900 hours, Putin's plan swings into action. At Bokov Airfield, a little outside the town of Mazia in Belarus, around 30 Russian helicopters get airborne. Among them are 10 K-852 attack helicopters and a handful of older Mi-24 attack helicopters, and 2 waves of Mi-8 transport planes, with 10 helicopters in each wave. On board the transports are 300 men from the 31st Guards Air Assault Brigade, otherwise known as the VDV, Russia's elite paratroopers, and the 45th Spetsnaz Brigade, the Kremlin's feared special forces. The helicopter pilots quickly navigate from Mazia to the Dnipro River and then begin to follow it south towards the Ukraine border. Kyiv has 2 large air defense sites scanning the skies north of the capital for threats. Even though Russia's missile barrage should have destroyed these sites, the helicopter pilots are taking no chances. They are flying very low, known as a nap of the earth approach, to pass underneath the Ukrainian radar. Around 9:30, they cross the border unnoticed and continue to follow the river south towards the Ukrainian capital. Emerging from the waterway, the helicopters skim the surface of the Kyiv reservoir until they get within sight of a large dam just to the north of Kyiv. At last, the Ukrainians spot them and
Once you have tasted flight, you will forever walk the earth with your eyes turned skyward, for there you have been, and there you will always long to return. It's a dream as old as mankind itself, the dream to fly. But what if you wake up in Ukraine? What if you realize it's not a dream, it's war? And And while you soar through the air, living the life you dreamed of as a child, the Russian army is there, hunting you, trying to shoot you out of the sky and make you crash on the very soil that you are trying to protect.
It's 5 in the morning, and these helicopters behind me are getting ready to fly on a combat mission. We have 2 Mi-24s delivered by the Czech Republic, loaded with Hydra 7 rockets, and here's this Mi-8 Ukrainian helicopter which flies with the retranslator. We're going to spend the next days with the Ukrainian helicopter pilots and with the engineers and technicians that keep these planes alive. We're going to speak to the guys, find out why they do this job, what motivates them, and how it feels to do something like that in combat. That's it, right? That's what we'll do. That's loud!
Hello everyone. Today we're talking about a very special helicopter, the Mi-24, known as the Hind or Satan's Chariot for some.
There's just something about the M24 Hind helicopter. Maybe it's the way it looks, like a heavily armed predator eagerly waiting to strike. Or maybe it's what it represents, the threat of the power of the Soviet military during the Cold War. Either way, even Tom Cruise would agree, when you hear that unmistakable rotor thumping in the distance, it's your cue to start running.
The helicopter is called the Hind. It's also its normal designation is the Mi-24. The Hind is the NATO name for the aircraft. All helicopters start with an H from the word helicopter. A bomber starts with a B, like a Badger, and Mi-23 Flogger is a fighter, so it starts with an F. The aircraft has a couple of nicknames. In Russia, it's known as the Crocodile. This stems mostly of its camouflage pattern. In Afghanistan, when it was used successfully, it was known as the Satan's Chariot. And colloquially, sometimes it's known as the Flying Tank because why? It's a beast of an aircraft.
The story of the Mi-24 begins in the 1960s, as the Soviet Union studied helicopter warfare in Vietnam and realized the need for a powerful multi-role combat helicopter. American concepts distinguished between troop carriers and dedicated gunships, but Soviet engineers, under the legendary helicopter designer Mikhail Mil, sought a single platform combining both roles. The design bureau drew heavily on the earlier Mi-8 transport helicopter, using its dynamic components and engines as a base, but modifying the cockpit and adding substantial weapons and armor. The prototype for the new helicopter, initially known as the V-24, first flew in September 1969. The Mi-24 was...
This video was made possible by CuriosityStream. Watch thousands of high-quality documentaries and get access to my streaming service Nebula using the link in the description.
The F-14 Tomcat was designed for one thing and one thing only: to intercept state-of-the-art Soviet supersonic bombers before they could launch long-range missiles that could cripple the US Navy's largest aircraft carriers. Nothing in the US military's arsenal could handle this threat. A new generation of aircraft was needed that could fly up to Mach 2 to intercept these high-flying bombers, be capable of dogfighting at slower speeds when dealing with their fighter escorts, be rugged and strong enough to handle the extreme landings of carrier-based aircraft while carrying an enormous load of the most advanced air-to-air weapons ever created. And to top it all off, a powerful radar capable of guiding those weapons from an equivalent distance of New York to Boston. To do all this, the F-14 needed to be a shapeshifter, to adapt to the battlefield at a moment's notice. The swing wing of the F-14 allowed it to play two roles, a dogfighter and a high-speed interceptor. This is the insane engineering of the F-14 Tomcat. When the F-14 was proposed, variable sweep wings were nothing new. The Germans theorized the benefits of a plane capable of changing the angle of its wings back in World War II, and despite the expected complexity of the design, they followed through with a prototype design as part of the Emergency Fighter Program, a program created in a last-ditch attempt to turn the tides of the Allied aerial assaults that had crippled the Luftwaffe in 1944. This secretive plane, the Messerschmitt P-1101, was never completed. And in the final days of the war, as the US military marched towards Berlin, they stumbled across the innovative machine. Seeing the potential of the design, it was shipped back to the Bell factory in Buffalo, New York. 6 years later, the Bell X-5 rolled out of its hangar, bearing a striking resemblance to the spoils of war. However, the X-5 was a flawed aircraft. It would take decades of material science and aerodynamic advancements to incorporate a complex mechanism like this in a practical, operational combat aircraft. Variable sweep wings allow planes to adapt their aerodynamics on the go. When flying slower subsonic speeds, a lower sweep is preferable. It allows the plane to generate more lift with less drag. This is especially useful for a plane that needs to loiter in the sky for prolonged periods, protecting massive multi-billion-dollar aircraft carriers. But when needed, the F-14 can pin its proverbial ears back and accelerate to Mach 2.3, a highly desirable mechanism that is usually not included due to the added weight and the cost of maintenance. To make this practical, the designers of the F-14 would need to shave weight wherever possible, and they began with the F-14's wing box. The wing box is the foundation of an aircraft. It's the structural core upon which the entire aircraft is built. It connects the two wings together and resists the bending moment they generate, while supporting the entire weight of the aircraft through its connection to the fuselage. And the F-14 was going to be a heavy aircraft, the heaviest and most expensive fighter aircraft the US had ever developed, carrying two massive engines capable of pushing the plane to twice the speed of sound, 6 state-of-the-art air-to-air missiles that only the F-14 could use, 7 tons of fuel, a complex swing-wing mechanism, and a massive internal radar, which was the most powerful combat aircraft radar in service until the F-22 was introduced. Making the wing box as strong and light as possible was going to be vital for the F-14, and this was complicated even further by the need for a pivot connection for the outboard wings. Most wing boxes are constructed from aluminium, but Grumman made the decision early in the design process to manufacture the wing box of the F-14 from titanium, a notoriously difficult and expensive material to work with, but its benefits in strength-to-weight ratio were exactly what they needed. To work with this material, Grumman needed to develop a massive, one-of-its-kind titanium manufacturing facility that used a unique manufacturing process, electron beam welding. Electron beam welding, as the name would suggest, uses a focused beam of high-speed electrons to bombard a metal surface to generate heat with kinetic energy. This method was used because titanium is highly reactive with oxygen, and when heated, it becomes even more reactive. During the welding process, oxides form and contaminate the weld pool, resulting in an extremely weak weld. So, we need to weld titanium in a vacuum to ensure oxygen is not present. But that creates an issue because most welding techniques use combustion, which needs oxygen to generate the necessary heat. Electron beam welding solves that problem. This wing box was an engineering masterpiece, This video is brought to you by Ground News. Sign up today and get 40% off your subscription. If you were not paying attention, you may not have noticed the revolution happening in the airline industry. The days of attempting to build bigger and bigger airliners like the 850-passenger double-decker A380 and the 660-passenger humped 747 are gone. The behemoths are simply being outcompeted by a new generation of planes. Many mourn the slow demise of these iconic planes, but you are benefiting from this change. The entire nature of air travel has changed to benefit you and your needs. Your local airport has more direct flights to distant lands than ever before, and the price of those tickets are cheaper than ever. Connecting flights are becoming rarer and rarer as this new breed of plane takes over. The plane at the forefront of this revolution, the 787 Dreamliner, a $30 billion bet on the future of the airline industry. Boeing sat at the poker table and pushed all their chips forward. An all-in bet on a radical new future. And it paid off. The 787 revolutionized not only how the airline industry operates, but how the future of planes will be designed and built. This is the breakdown of the 787's materials. By weight, 55% of the 787 is made from composite materials, like carbon fiber reinforced plastics, making it the first commercial airliner made primarily with this new age material. The 787 is rivaled only by the Airbus A350 XWB, introduced 4 years after the 787 in 2015. So, why are composite materials so desirable for the airline industry, and how has the 787 made the most of their advantages? Composite materials are made up of 2 or more materials. Take carbon-reinforced plastics. They are composed of extremely strong carbon fibers bound together by a plastic resin. Carbon fiber, made up of thousands of tiny thin fibers of carbon, is incredibly strong in tension, up to 5 times stronger than steel and 1/5 of its weight. But these tiny fibers can't create a solid part by themselves. This is an image of a human hair beside a carbon fiber. The carbon fiber is the smaller one, and just like a human hair, they can bend and flex and separate very easily. So we need to first bind them together with a plastic resin to form a solid material. Otherwise, they just form a strong but flexible fabric. That flexibility as a fabric is exactly what makes composites so useful when creating the precise and elegant curves of a plane. With the right tooling and designers, composite components can be made into almost any shape imaginable.
Why don't I take this responsibility from you? And one day I just saw my cat's date appointment and I was like, I'm gonna go there and surprise my boyfriend. While I was waiting, I went and looked inside the clinic room. You know what I saw? I saw them kissing. I was really heartbroken when I found out about this. And then I woke up, I grabbed the hammer, drive to his house and freaking slammed him in his head, you know. But then I'm thinking, it's 4 a.m. in the morning, so I'm in complete shock right now. He's actually been cheating on me with my cat's doctor. A few months back, he asked me randomly, do we need to bring Muffin to the doctor because I don't think he's been eating much, and check on my cat and realized that he's fine. So the following week, I got a call from Muffin's cat doctor and she said that, oh, I should bring Muffin in for a yearly checkup. I brought my cat to the vet. At that time, she discovered that he had some kidney problems. He needs to be on drip medication every single week. I don't know if I could bring him to the vet every week. So he was like, why don't I take this responsibility from you? And one day I just saw my cat's date appointment and I was like, I'm gonna go there and surprise my boyfriend. While I was waiting, I went and looked inside the clinic room. You know what I saw? I saw them kissing. I was really heartbroken when I found out about this. And then I woke up, I grabbed the hammer, drive to his house and freaking slammed him in his head, you know. But then I'm thinking, it's 4 a.m. in the morning, so I'm in complete shock right now. He's actually been cheating on me with my cat's doctor. A few months back, he asked me randomly, do we need to bring Muffin to the doctor because I don't think he's been eating much, and check on my cat and realized that he's fine. So the following week, I got a call from Muffin's cat doctor and she said that, oh, I should bring Muffin in for a yearly checkup. I brought my cat to the vet. At that time, she discovered that he had some kidney problems. He needs to be on drip medication every single week.
not just in the White House, but on stake, was George H.W. Bush, the last one. They loved George H.W. Bush, they loved Kennedy, and they loved Eisenhower. And everybody else has been.
I'm joined today by presidential candidate Hunter Biden.
I'll run, but only as your VP. I think everybody's carrying around a bag of heroin in their pocket, and it's called an iPhone. I'm not stepping off the stage for fucking anybody.
This is Gavin Newsom.
I'm Hunter Biden.
I'm joined today by presidential candidate Hunter Biden, 2028. Come on, Hunter. What's going on?
No.
You got more buzz out there than you got the President of the United States, Donald Trump, talking about your candidacy for president of the United States.
I had to give you a break for just one day at least.
But
here's the deal. I'll run, but only as your VP, because the truth of the matter is the vice president's residence is a lot cooler. It's a lot easier job too.
Is it? You legitimately think is it a better residence? I mean, you were both. You have unique status to be able to actually make that case.
The White House is the grandeur of the White House is it never gets old. But you really do feel like you're in a gilded cage, you know. It's so and the grounds of the VP residence are really private, and it's pretty cool.
In fact, the last time we saw each other, I was with you. Your dad brought me upstairs and in the residence. And to your point, you know, it's as grand and extraordinary as it is. No one wants to be, you know, the last thing anyone wants to hear is someone saying, you know, it's not all that. But to your point, that's a little claustrophobic. I mean, everybody around, not a lot of sense of freedom or privacy, huh?
Yeah, so get used to it, pal. Good. I was hoping when I saw you that we would just dig in, that you would, you know, I'd get you in one of those secret rooms, you'd stay.
Your dad brought me up, by the way. I mean, now I'm talking out of school here, but he was on a tour that I think that was for him. He was walking into closets he said he hadn't been in years and years, and he was discovering, he's like, well, let's see what's behind this door. And there's a bunch of clothes that were stored. He goes, oh, I think I put that in 4 years ago. He was in one of those moods where I think your mom had to come up to get him because he was taking too much time with me, which was fun.
Well, that was a common occurrence and still is. So, yeah.
So, look, you've been making a lot of news lately, and I think surprising a lot of people as well. I mean, you showed up, and I appreciate you showing up where you've been showing up. I spent 3 hours with Sean Ryan myself, and there you are with Sean Ryan, former Navy SEAL, someone who was out there very critical. In fact, I remember walking into Sean Ryan's set, and right above the door, it said, "Let's go, Brandon," when I got there. So I understood exactly where his politics were. And then, lo and behold, you show up on my feed, and you're there with Ryan, and you were there with Candace Owens recently, and back on X and blowing up the internet. And so, you know, the obvious first question, Hunter, is what the hell is going on? Welcome back to you know, the bright lights. And what was the trigger, man? What was the inspiration to come back out and really tell your story?
Yeah, the way that number one is, you know, I learned a little bit, and I'm being serious, a little bit from you. I watched that interview that you did with Charlie Kirk, and you know, he had that line when you guys were talking about how progressives, how Democrats are afraid to go into the lion's den of these, you know, long. And I thought, shit, I'm not, you know, because what are you going to say that hasn't already been said? And there's an incredible freedom to the to having been stripped bare in the public square and lashed 1,000 times and still be standing. And you know, it's not by any you know, courage or you know I didn't go to Rishikesh for 7 years and train to be a monk, but what I did learn is that there's an enormous freedom in owning your whole story, and so I felt more than anything, what I had the opportunity to do is talk to the 50 million Americans who are suffering on a daily basis from addiction. And, you know, it's not something that that any of us are unfamiliar with. I mean, anybody. Everybody's got a best friend, a mom, a dad, a brother, a sister, a loved family member that, or themselves, that have suffered from addiction. Now, not everybody was a crack addict, but addiction is addiction, and it is one of the things that one of the singular things that that binds us all. So, whether it was Sean Ryan, who opened up to me about his own struggle with addiction, and or Candace Owens, who I thought that if I had the opportunity to sit with her personally, that she would see the humanity of it. Because, you know, I don't think these people are bad people. You know, I mean, they have very different political views than I have, and I think that you have. But you know what? Is that we're all just trying to figure it out, man. You know, and I think that that's the reason, and more than anything, I'll tell you what I'm doing now is that I joined a organization called Peak Path Health, and it's a rehab. But what we're doing, they brought me on to build their foundation, and the foundation is going to focus on aftercare, which I think is the big missing gap in the recovery industry. Is you get your 30 days and then you go back to the same situation that you were in, and your chances of making it are really, really slim. But these aftercare programs and the kind of long-term stays, not where it is like a confined space like a rehab, in which you can get job training, wellness. You know, a lot of the work that my sister does with people that are coming out of prison or out of rehab, in terms of teaching them wellness techniques, everything from meditation to just common nutrition and things like that. All of it makes a difference, particularly in a community of people where, you know, recidivism or relapse, whatever you want to call it, is about 75 to 85%. So. Yeah, so that's the reason. They gave me a stage. I'm going to use it.
And was there a trigger? I mean, was there a conversation? Was there a moment where you said, you know what, I'm done being, you know, my story being told by everybody else? Because you've been sober now. It's been 7 years. You just posted. It's been 7 years, June 1st, 2019, and so throughout the presidency, throughout your father's presidency, you were clean and sober. Yet you were getting your ass kicked 24/7. The cover of New York Post more than any human being in modern history. You just, you know, these guys just abandoned these guys. Gingrich, I mean, Gingrich, sure, but Giuliani, these guys, and the weaponization of that laptop or whatever, you know, all of that, and you were quiet. You were quiet then. Yeah. Why? You know, what was the moment where you said, "I'm going to defend myself. I'm going to write my own story"?
Yeah, it was.
One more time.
I felt like I had enough distance from the politics of the administration. Why now? Like, why right now? You know, I needed that year to get my, you know, to get.
Anything you're not afraid of? Huh?
My feet back underneath me. The reason, you know this, is that the presidency, and my choice to be vocal or not, it wasn't about me. I'm fully aware that nobody really gives a shit about Hunter Biden. What they gave a shit about was power. What they gave a shit about was presidency, and they attacked the one thing that they knew my dad loved the most. It's his family.
Yep.
And that's a play that is as old as politics, but it was on a biblical scale for me. But it really wasn't my place. You know, I heard Tim Miller, and who I like, and I like what he's doing. Yeah. So I don't want to get into a spat, you know, with people that are, I think, preaching and fighting the good fight. Yep. And I really do. And but he. He said, you know, well, Hunter Biden was such a distraction, and why was he such a distraction? And this is partially his fault that we lost because he just couldn't stay out of the out of the news. I was like, oh man. So if I could have stayed out of the news, I sat in my garage up in Big Rock in my home state of California and painted for 4 years. I didn't do a single piece of business, I went to Yale Law School and I didn't use my law degree one time in the 4 years that my dad was president. And I painted, and I did well in painting. I sold some paintings, and all to people that everybody eventually through subpoenas was able to figure out, and I made about $220,000 a year. But the fact of the matter is that I stayed to myself, and it was never a choice to be a distraction. So I didn't feel like it was my place at that time during the administration to go on Twitter and fire off a few zingers. You know what I mean? Like, it just I have too much respect for the office and the people that work there, and the amount of time that they commit to doing what's best for the administration, what's best for the country, and what was best for my dad. So I kind of sat it out.
And was that debated? Did you have conversations saying, look, they've crossed the line now for the 10th time, enough. It's not about me, it is about my dad, and I need to protect the integrity of our name, our family, and just the bullshit that's out there. I mean, were there moments where you said, okay, now I've got to come forward and say something, but held back?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. The honest answer to that is yeah. One of those times was when they were, they played that game where they wanted me to come testify before Congress, and I said, sure, I'll come, and I'll do it publicly. And the only way that I'll do it is if you do it in front of the cameras and in committee, and we can broadcast it live. And people inside the White House were really opposed to that. I'm sure you're all sick of the sound of my voice. And that was probably the one time in which I said, too bad. So I'd love it if we could all because at that point, it so bothered me that they were able to get away with it and continue to get away with this thing. Like right now, what they're doing with this Epstein, investigation at the Oversight Committee, which is no investigation. They're not even. They release transcripts 4 days later. People come out and, they characterize it the way they characterize it, and the press has already moved on to something else. And that's exactly what they did. But at that time, remember, I went up to the Hill, and I went over to an actual live committee hearing, and I walked in. I sat in the audience, and all of them. I remember Nancy Mace was saying, This is the epitome of privilege, And I said, he won't even I said, I'm right here. I'm right here. I'm ready to go. And of course, they didn't take me up on it. Yeah. But there were times that I was very, very frustrated. But again, it wasn't my call, and I'm grateful for exactly where I am right now, though, because I don't know in that maelstrom whether I would have been out there and would have been all defensive. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It would have been like, oh, well, that's not true, and that's not true, and I can't admit to that, and I can't do this and this. Now, like, I'm not running for anything as much as, I think the trolls on our side are triggering the 100 derangement syndrome, I call it now. HDS, it has replaced TDS. But I'm not running. And, so I did a post today about, it's the Idiocracy 2.0, like this, and I thought it was funny.
By the way, I saw it today. I thought it was one of our posts, and they said no, it's Hunter's post. I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah. By the way,
it got me thinking. Seriously, maybe on Monday, the president's birthday, I may want to take a day off. Maybe you can take over my feed.
100%. I'm all in. You know, it's funny. Everybody thinks that there's like this, you know, like I got the DNC's working on my behalf. I feel like saying, when has the DNC ever worked on it on anybody's behalf, let alone mine? But it's just me with my two little thumbs here. But it's liberating, you know. I mean, and part of it is this. You know, I think that somebody wrote an article in the American Conservative about that somebody sent me about this little run I'm having on Twitter, which, you know, all good things come to an end. I can't keep up this pace on my own. But, and they said, you know, and it was actually pretty insightful in many ways. And it just said, it's all about authenticity.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you going to do to a guy that basically claims it all? You know what I mean? That takes ownership for all of the things and fights back when, you know, you are, you know, when you open yourself up for a punch. What are you going to do? And that's kind of like how Trump was back in, you know, and they make the connection. And where I think they really fail is in that part. Is that the difference between being audacious and authentic is real. Donald Trump has the audacity to say that he's 6'3" and weighs 224 pounds when we both know he's 5'11", 300. You know, Donald Trump has the audacity to say there's very fine people on both sides. Donald Trump has the audacity to say that he's going to end the war in Iraq in one day. Donald Trump has the audacity to lie to your face and you know, piss on your leg and tell you that it's raining. That's not authenticity. And I think that the American people have fundamentally confused that. And it's not their fault. God, look, I think everybody's carrying around a bag of heroin in their pocket, and it's called an iPhone. Okay, it is the dopamine hit of choice for 350 million of us. And what we do is that we are fed this lie that this country's divided, that everybody hates everybody, that there's never going to be able to get along, that, you know, if you believe this, then you're a traitor and this is treason, and Hunter Biden is a pedophile, rapist, blah, 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 and Governor Newsom is you know, turning every school into a trans, blah, blah, blah. It's not real, man. You and I both know it.
Above all,
it ain't real.
About life.
It's literally what we're being fed by a handful of oligarchs that control our technology companies. I mean, I always give the example. Do you remember this when the whistleblower came out from Facebook? And she testified in 2022 or 2023. And she testified that Facebook knew full well that their algorithm was almost directly responsible for the exponential spike in suicides among girls between the ages of 13 and 17. Exponential, a 330%, I think, increase in that, which, by the way, continues to this day.
Yep.
And you know what we did about it? Nothing.
Not a thing.
And by the way, all of us, I don't mean just Congress, I mean all of us. What did we do about it? You know what? We still got the phone in our pocket. And by the way, I'm as guilty as that as anybody. And I just think, like, if we can get people to realize that, is that we don't hate each other. We're being told to hate each other. And so that's why I want to go on Candace Owens. I want to go talk to Tucker. I even want to go to talk to people that I mean, my first question would be, why are you such a Nazi to Nick Fuentes? You know what I mean? I want to talk, because Gov, you know this, and I'm talking too much. That's my job as a Biden. is 18 to 35-year-olds, draft age generation. They're angry, man. They're really angry, and we can sit here and say they're stupid and they don't know what they're talking about and they're so dumb that they fall into the trap of these people and these people that they're online. They're not, man. They just want to belong.
You got it.
They want to feel like they have some control. And I'll tell you what, a generation of people that lost 2 years of their life, the most important years of their life, in COVID, and we don't even remotely recognize the trauma of that. And I think that that's what we're living through. And at the same time, the exact wrong person came along to the stage and literally lit the match.
That's right.
And that's who we have right now. So, you know, I think it's, I think what you're doing and the way that you're talking, I mean, it's inspiring to me. So
I appreciate all that, and so much to unpack, Hunter, what you were just saying, and I'm curious, you know, just in the context, just in a contemporary space, you know, we're talking day after the Maine primary. What do you think in the context of authenticity versus the audacity frame of Plattner as you know, an example? I mean, you know, the Democrats struggling a little bit to reconcile. You mentioned Nick Fuentes and obviously the Plattner tattoo and, you know, some of the prior comments. What do you make of him in the context of all this that you're describing?
Take him at his word that
is he?
Which, by the way, is not something he's not saying something new today that he wasn't saying 4 months ago or 5 months ago, which is this: he was a veteran, a combat veteran. And he came back, you know, he had some real issues, and with PTSD, and that trauma and whatever way that he was working it out, I think has been really, really open about, is that he wasn't a good person. And here's what I know: it takes a lot of stamina, at least. I'm not going to say. I think courage too. I'll give myself that to get back up and build a better life. And I don't. I'm 99.9% certain is that Graham Plattner is no Nazi. You know, and I don't think that he's a racist in any way. I hear the way that he talks. I think that his relationship with his wife is his relationship with his wife. The entirety of that controversy is, you know, it's all about, you know, leaked consensual, you know, stuff. I mean, stupid. Maybe you would have a problem, not you, I mean, anyone would have a problem, but like, you know, I always say to people, like, show me your phone. Yeah. Give me access to your iCloud.
My parents put on for these goggles.
Let's go through it and pull everything that we can that is inappropriate, that is off color, that is you know, that selfie that you took when you're drunk off your ass and you know you sent it to your blah blah blah. Like, show me your phone, and if that's the standard by which we are going to judge people, particularly people in elected office, then I don't think we're going to have many people in elected office. And so, as it relates to Graham Plattner, I focus on this, is that I have not heard anything in any way that would say to me that he is a abusive, misogynistic, or anti-Semitic, or racist person. And I have heard this from Graham Plattner, though, that he thinks we should all have free health care. I have heard this from Graham Plattner also, that he thinks that we have to radically change our politics. I have heard this from Graham Plattner, that working people are getting fucking screwed. I have heard this from Graham Plattner, that we aren't all, that they have us at each other's throats and we should be at their throats. I have heard this from Graham Plattner, that he thinks the oligarchs and the tech overlords and billionaires are really making it the playing field unfair for working class people. That's what I've heard from Graham Plattner. And so I hope I'm right about that, because, you know, I look at somebody, and I know you probably have a personal relationship with him, but, you know, I watched as Zohran Mamdani kind of came up, and I thought, holy shit, like, I like what I'm hearing, you know. And then when he got elected, I thought, I hope he can deliver And you know what? Like, talk about delivering. I mean, talk about delivering. And you think about things like, you know what I would do? What I'm going to advise you to do on your first day as president is this. Do something about rent. Rent.
Amen.
Do something about the algorithms that create the that create a system that is completely unfair because of companies like BlackRock and these giant hedge funds and private equity funds that have come and bought up all of the housing and now are basically in collusion with each other to increase rent by 8% a year across the board, almost nationally, without any state or governor being able to do anything directly about it necessarily. And you know what people are most concerned about? Real people, like 95% of us, is rent. You know, more people rent today than as compared to ownership than any time in history. And so if you're 35 years old, married, and you have 2 kids, and you rent a house, that 8% that goes up the next year because of some guy. By the way, I'm not talking about small landlords. I'm talking about these private equity companies that have come and you got to make a choice between whether you're going to stay in your house or whether you're going to, be able to buy food, or whether you're going to be able to get diapers, and you're working 2 jobs, and your wife is working 2 jobs. It's just, people are just trying to make it by.
Yeah, you got it.
Anyway.
No, I appreciate that, and without going down that rabbit hole, though, as substantive it is, I think it connects things in more ways and more days. And explains more things to your point about the nihilism a lot of young people feel, and this sort of this belonging deficit, dignity deficit, where people don't feel connected, respected, or protected broadly. The algorithms sort of dialing up that outrage, and people dialing back now and giving into that despair. And many people, I'm going back to sort of the origin story here, self-medicating, and many people, struggling in historic ways. And I want to go back to that a little bit because, this really is, your journey is shared by, as you suggest, upwards of 50 million people. And, I just finished a book and talked about, I learned so much in the process of writing a book. You wrote a book in 2021. And I imagine you went through the same process of, learning about yourself and discovering things that you never knew about yourself, your own motivations on the basis of your parents' bio, your grandparents' bio, how they were born and raised. And my grandfather spent 4 years prisoner of war after marching in Corregidor, came back broken, alcoholic, and ultimately took his own life. And so this notion, that you share that journey that Plattner and others, there's grace in terms of empathy and understanding, some humility of the journey that people, all of us, are on in different ways. But your journey for the last 7 years has been pretty remarkable. And you talked about painting,
right?
And I think a big part of the origin story of the painting, if I'm not mistaken, was also part of your journey, a catharsis. Your ability to sort of substitute the habitual nature of an addiction with a creative outlet, and the dexterity, the sort of routinization of that art, literally and figuratively, helping you with that recovery. And so the focus, I know Tim and others focus on, all the art that you sold, and you talk about it, $220,000 a year, hardly becoming a multimillionaire as a distraction. But for you, that was about your life.
Yeah, it was. And I painted my whole life, and since I was a kid, and making art since I was a kid, and it was something that always gave me a relief and a release, and part of that is about people that have suffered from addiction before and can understand this, which is the need to get out of your own head. Is much more acute, I think, in addicts than the rest of us. And and painting is that, because painting for me is that the complete and utter focus on it's something that requires your mental and physical coordination at the same time. And Melissa and I just had gotten married. I was newly clean and sober, and she went out and she bought me this table that is back in Malibu, and she put it out in this little kind of shed that we had in the house that we were staying at. They're beautiful, had windows, and she bought me some painting supplies, and from that day, you know, I paint, you know, hours a day. I wake up, you know, usually like 5, 6, and I'm at that table when I'm back there. I'm in my studio, and I paint as long as I possibly can. And it was it has given me an incredible sense of purpose, because the other side of painting is that the creative act in and of itself is a beautiful thing, but when you share it with somebody else, it becomes almost an act of courage. And I don't mean that in the sense of whether you play music or you sing or you're a dancer or you're a painter, or it is really amazing to do that in the confines of your own, you know, room. But there's this really thrilling and enthralling and scary thing to do, to then share that with anybody else. And that's what I did. It really was a beautiful thing. You know, that the name of the book that I wrote was that, and the title came from Bo, who when he was dying said he had lost a lot of his ability to speak because of the aphasia that occurred because of the cranial resections. But we had a little, like, code together, and he would just say beautiful things. And he didn't mean beautiful things like possessions. He meant beautiful things like family, beautiful things like nature, beautiful things like my love of painting. And that's kind of the where I've ended up, as my entire focus is on trying to focus on those beautiful things, which sometimes can come off as zingers on X when I'm talking about Don Jr. That's a beautiful thing, though.
It's a beautiful. We'll get to him later.
Yeah.
What I think about you, and I mean, obviously, you talked a lot about it. You've written a lot about it. Your dad's spoken so extraordinarily openly about Bo, but growing up, and you guys, just the tragedy both of you survived, and the bond that you guys had, and in the relationship that was, you have brotherly relationships are, often close, but this was a next level relationship in terms of what you guys forged and the experiences you both shared. But what was it like just growing up in the spotlight of a father who, even before he's president, vice president, before he's vice president, was a candidate for president, was a dominant force for decades and decades, youngest senator in history, and couldn't even get sworn in when he was originally elected. But what was it like growing up in a political family? I mean, was it just, peaches and strawberries? It was, fantastic and privilege, or was it, held to a different standard? How was that growing up?
No, growing up in I always say that
anyone fucking believe me.
I in part because of my dad, but also in part because of the state of Delaware. Delaware is a small place, and I think its population is just south of 1 million still right now. Even smaller. 1972 when Dad first got elected, probably around 600,000 or so, and by virtue of that, my dad was Joe to everybody. And by virtue of the accident when my mom and my brother and I were in, when my mom and my sister were killed, is that the whole kind of state adopted us. And we had, literal, everybody was an aunt and uncle. Which was a beautiful thing. And so Delaware always felt like family and felt like home, and with the same kind of treatment. Like if I got pulled over by a cop for speeding and the cop didn't go, well, Mr. Biden, we'll let you off this time. They said, your dad's going to kick your ass. I can't wait till I see him down at the train station. And so that we didn't grow up in D.C. You know, I said something the other day. I said, you know, the way in which they treated Dad at the end of 2024 after the debate, I said, the reason was he was never a part of that elite insider DC press. And somebody said, you know, a lot of people said, well, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. You're trying to tell me that somebody that spent 50 years in Washington, D.C., that was chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee, that was a vice president, that was a president, wasn't inside D.C. And what I wanted to say is like, well, you don't know D.C. if you don't know that. My dad went home every day.
Yep.
And that means something. He did not show up at the Georgetown cocktail parties. He was not at the Aronson's house on Sunday with the other Supreme Court justices. And, you know, I mean, like, there is and I know that world because I lived it for myself for a while, which he never did. And so for that reason, my childhood was normal in as much as it possibly could be, even though Dad was a United States Senator. And, you know, now, did we get to do some cool stuff? Yeah. I mean, we used to go down on the train and hang out with my dad anytime that we wanted to in the Senate. And you know, which was one of the most I love the Senate. I love the history of those buildings. I love being there to watch. And also because of my mom's death, a lot of the old, like really, names nobody will remember now except in their home states, but like Mike Mansfield and Danny Inouye, who was my hero, and you know, and the list goes on. Teddy Kennedy took us under their wing, which was an incredibly privileged thing to do. I got to meet men and women that I think embodied Bob Dole, you know, it was an acerbic guy, but he loved me. I mean, me and Bo. And we got to go in the cloakroom and do things and see that and see and history unfold. And it was an incredible childhood from that perspective. And what I learned in that is that politics done nobly is a noble thing. And I really believe that. And I think everybody goes, it's all, you know, politics. I don't like politics. I don't like politics. I think it's such a cop-out. It's like, you know, because the truth of the matter is that the only way that we can sustain a constitutional republic and this democracy is if we engage in politics. It doesn't mean that we have to engage in no-holds-barred partisanship, where it's a zero-sum game. But we have to engage in politics. And my dad was the master of finding a way through legislatively with people that no one would have thought that he could have done that. I mean, for instance, you know, like PEPFAR, the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief. I mean, if it were not for my dad with Jesse Helms, being able to bring him on board for that, it would have never gotten done. And all the credit goes to, you know, well, by the way, as you and I both know, all the credit goes to Bono and Bobby Schreiber, which is true. Which is true, yeah. But that was my childhood, you know. And,
but what was it like, Hunter, when you, I mean, it must have been radically different as vice president, meaning all of a sudden now it's Secret Service, different level of scrutiny. You know,
completely different.
Was that? Yeah. I mean, was that? Was that more of a shock of the system, or was it? You know, because of all those reps and because of your deeper understanding of, you know, the ways of you know, within that corridor at least of DC and the hallways.
It was a radical difference, and not one that I was very comfortable with. The pomp and circumstance of it, is it can be intoxicating, I think, at first, and then it can be very overwhelming when you fully understand that you're very much not, particularly as the second son of the vice president of the United States. It's like you're not like in the mix, you know what I mean? With the understandable assumption from people on the outside that somehow that, you know, that you are. And And I think one of the mistakes that I made is that I stayed in DC. The girls were in school by that time. We had been in Delaware. I'd moved back down to DC because I had started my law firm. I tried to commute like Bo did, but I had taken a job as adjunct professor at Georgetown University's master's program in the School of Foreign Service, because at the time I was the chairman of the board of the World Food Program in the U.S. So I was traveling all over the world, going to hot spots like Lebanon and Beirut during the Syrian refugee crisis, and Typhoon Haiyan, and all these things. And I was teaching at Georgetown, and I had my business, and the idea of commuting back and forth just became too much for me. As I always said to my dad, I said, when I'm late to a meeting, people leave. When you're late to a meeting, they wait. And it was a mistake on my part, though, because I really, I don't dislike DC, but it's a company town. It's very much a company town, and everything is about, proximity to power, and people are not shy about it, and it kind of saps your soul to a certain degree, I mean, that was my experience, and again, is like, what an honor, like to be able to say what it's like inside the vice president's residence. Yeah. Like who gets to say that? And I don't, or to be able to even have remotely a criticism of being able to stay over at your dad's house, and it happened to be the White House. Of course. Like, I was only in the White House probably 40 nights, because we were out with the in the great state of California, which, by the way, I will tell you this. I've had so many people say, when are you coming home? And I say to them, are you out of your mind?
There we go.
I wake up every day. It's 75 degrees and sunny, and I'm looking out at the Pacific Ocean, and I'm going to lunch in the Hollywood Hills, and I think, like, where would you ever want to live other than maybe a couple hours north of there? I mean, it's amazing. But anyway, it was tough. Not tough in the sense of like, oh, it was a hardship, but it just wasn't my style. And anyway, it kind of all fell apart at one point after Bo died. So
yeah, and then you started. I mean, that's when the sort of spiral of addiction started to take shape. You didn't have your best friend to call every day. Your father's devastated. Everybody. People. Even I remember. Yeah, it's when forgive me, but now I'm looking back. Just that was the time. Obviously, the marriage came to an end as well.
Yeah, exactly. All almost simultaneously, and it was. I was adrift. I was totally adrift, and I say this not for the shock value of it. I was trying to commit suicide, but I didn't have the courage to do it in a way that would have been immediate and final. It was when I first smoked crack, it was a conscious choice. I'm going to do the single thing that is probably the most destructive thing that I can do. And I walked out of a rehabilitation center, an outpatient program that I had been in for a period of time because everybody was worried to death for me. And it's a whole long story, but they wouldn't let me back in the program. And then I walked to Lincoln Park, which was, about 2 blocks from this program. And I knew a woman that had been, I'd known her because I'd worked in the area for, worked or lived in the area for 20 years, and everybody called her Bicycles. And she was crack addict, and everybody knew she was crack addict, and she was funny as shit. And she, and I walked up to her and said, "Can I buy some crack?" And she said, "Sure." And that was and then, that became at that time, a 3-year odyssey, like no other. Yeah.
And for you, and you can imagine for people, I'll speak for myself, but I imagine millions of others, just to hear you, especially, on the Candace Owen podcast, to just say it, own it, and say, quote unquote, yeah, I was a crackhead, which is a hell of a thing to say. It's what was said about you, but your willingness to just own that, again, is that, I mean, was there a moment when it just, you're like, you know, and I keep going back to this question because it's a hell of a statement just to you know, to claim something. Talk about courage and humility in that respect.
So, unlike most people that are, you know, publicly humiliated because of something they've done, something they've said, that, or, you know, whatever it may be, justifiably so or unfairly, is that it didn't happen in a drip for me. It all happened at once. All the pictures were out. All 130,000 emails that were stolen, all 30,000 text messages, all, 98,000 photographs and videos, every voicemail that I'd ever left anybody. They had hacked my iCloud and several devices, including a laptop, including another laptop that was stolen in Las Vegas, including a phone. And by the way, this isn't like conjecture on my part. It's all out there. Each one of these people that participated in this operation, they ended up getting in a fight with each other.
And who
got what?
And Hunter, who for those that aren't familiar, I mean, who was it this? I mean, there was a lot of conversation of Russian disinformation. I talked earlier about Bannon and, you know, obviously, you know, Rudy.
So, you know, that there's this whole thing about this idea that when those 40 intelligence officers wrote that this has all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation. And, you know, Twitter sphere kind of in MAGA is, you know, like, you lied to us. This is, you know, the laptop was real. The laptop, and I keep saying it is all a red herring. Is that what those 40 intelligence officials were talking about? Is that they were talking about an ongoing Russian operation that was identified by the Justice Department under Donald Trump that involved a guy named Andrei Derkach, Konstantin Kulik, Telizhenko, a guy named Dmitry Firtash, who Rudy Giuliani was taking information from, literally dossiers. He filmed it on OAN. He did a documentary in real time with him and Lev Parnas and Igor Fruman, and about searching for my laptop that was being offered for sale inside of Ukraine and Russia and Austria by a guy named Dmitry Firtash. That all was happening before the laptop repair shop guy was a twinkle in Rudy Giuliani's eye, okay? And what happened is that the only thing that the laptop proved, a quote-unquote laptop, hard drive, iCloud hack, whatever you want to call it, the only thing it proved is that I was a degenerate crackhead, doing degenerate crackhead things. And when I say that, all consensual things, you know, because what happened next is this, is I did the New Yorker interview. Right in 2019, right when I got sober, I got a call from Adam Intos from the New Yorker, and I loved the New Yorker. And when I was a kid, I always thought that I would be able to be a poet and have my art, my poetry in the New Yorker. And so, the only reason I took his call was because of that. And I ended up making one of the best decisions of my life, because Adam is a really fine writer, and he listened. And the story ostensibly started about Burisma, and it ended up being about the fact that I was deep into it and coming out of a deep addiction. And that came out in July of 2019. And the first call that he got was from Steve Bannon, who said, "You MFer, you scooped us." Because that was their plan. What they were going to do is they were going to release all of the images from the laptop of me, you know, in compromising sexual positions and people taking pictures of me with a crack pipe in my mouth and things like that. And that was going to be the October surprise. But I took it away from them. And so what they did is they concocted this other thing. They held on to it all the way up until October of 2020. And in the meantime, what had been happening is all of those, Dmitry Firtash, Konstantin Kulak, Telezenko, all of the Andrei Derkach, had all been sanctioned by the U.S. government, by the Trump administration, for running a election interference operation inside of the United States because they were feeding to a guy named Alexander Smirnov a bribery charge. That Hunter Biden took a bribe on behalf of his father from the Ukrainians. And that's what Rudy did. So Rudy walks out onto the Newcastle County Courthouse steps in Delaware, and he does two things. He said that this is evidence of criminal activity in Hunter Biden and is being paid by the Ukrainians, like the government, and the Chinese, like the government, of which neither one of those things is even remotely true. And he said, and this contains evidence of inappropriate images of children.
Hey, look at me.
Which obviously is not true. Which is like beyond. But you know what it is? It's the oldest trick in the book. It literally was started by the Nazis, and Putin then deployed it in 2000. Rachel Maddow talks about this all the time. It's called eliminationist rhetoric. If they can get anyone to believe that you're a pedophile, then the ability for them to get they go out and they say that it doesn't bear any resemblance to anything. If 10% of their community can believe that, then 60% can believe that you're capable of bribery. 70% think that you're capable of undue influence. I mean, and so that's what they did. And it's like everybody else dismisses that part about it. But then when you have the New York Post come along, and they literally, all they didn't matter what the headline was, what it was about. It was a picture of me in a motel room smoking a pipe or with my shirt off with a woman that was blurred out. And it's like, this is, you're degenerate, and tell me that he's not also capable of, taking a bribe. And that's what they did, and to great effect, I mean, people forget is that I had my criminal prosecution was completely sewn up after 4 different U.S. attorneys had investigated, crim tax at the Department of Justice, Maine Justice, the FBI, the IRS, Criminal Investigations Division, and they'd all come to the conclusion that I had not committed a felony offense in any way, and I was getting I entered into a plea agreement in which I was going to plead guilty to 2 misdemeanors, which were failure to file my taxes on time, because I had paid all my taxes with penalties and interest, and a diversion agreement because they say that I had purchased a gun at a time when I should have known that I was addicted to a controlled substance, which, by the way, is the correct thing, is the correct result. And so I signed that agreement, and they signed the agreement. And so I have a signed agreement with the U.S. Attorney in the state of Delaware. Approval with crim tax, completely independent from Maine Justice or anybody in Maine Justice making a decision. And I go to court, and they blow it up. They bring in these 2 prosecutors from Baltimore that had never been a part of the case. And there were 4 amicus briefs sent into the court, not as before any decision was made, that said, like, from the Heritage Foundation, everybody that, a list of 4,000 crimes I had committed, Fox News and the Murdoch Empire and everybody in the magosphere, like, went full force for 46 days, which is totally unheard of, that I would have been, had a plea agreement and not be arraigned on that agreement within 72 hours. But they delayed it. And when it came to the court said, Mr. Biden, you have an immunity clause in here, which is normal for a plea agreement. Of course you don't sign a plea agreement without an immunity clause, because you don't want the government to come back and say, oh no, we decided that. And it sounds to me like the U.S. attorney is saying that immunity would not apply to, you know, X, Y, or Z. And I said, well, it's a signed agreement. We're done here, Your Honor. Like, this is over. And she said, well, I don't think so. And she and they purposely blew up the agreement completely. And then they charged me with things that they've never charged anybody before with. But that was the whole kind of trajectory of all of this. And your original question, though, was is long lost in my 56-year-old brain, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to get back to it.
No, but
you remind me.
But Hunter, was it just the external political pressure that the surround sound, the sort of grievance, the weaponization of that grievance against you, your dad, that was coming out of, you know, Newsmax, One American News, Fox, Murdoch Inc. I mean, it was just 24/7 that just created the pressure on the Justice Department to reconsider, or the judge? I mean, why the sudden shift after a signed
100%.
plea agreement? Period. It was just political pressure.
Pure political pressure. You know, they literally, there were so many death threats against the assistant U.S. attorney, who was a 20-year veteran at the U.S. Attorney's Office in Delaware, for entering into the agreement, and the U.S. attorney, that she had to go into hiding. And they brought in these two guys from Baltimore, the same two guys that prosecuted the Democratic mayor in the city of Baltimore, and the district attorney, and like they were riding high on this thing, and that's exactly why. And the U.S. attorney got just absolutely excoriated until the point where he then, ripped up the plea agreement, which you can't do, and applied for, didn't apply. He said he's going to be special counsel, which is unheard of, by the way, that a sitting U.S. attorney was also special counsel. It's in complete violation of the statute as written. And so he becomes special counsel, and before the statute of limitations is up on both of those things, they charged me with 6 felonies. And what are you going to do? Is I say to everybody is that the idea that the chances of beating the federal government, in a criminal case are really, really, really slim. I mean, that's why they have 95% conviction rates. The full force of the Justice Department, when it descends upon you, is an awesome thing to witness. Hunter,
it's impossible to hear this, and most folks listening or watching know this, but it's important to remind everybody. This was happening when your dad is president of the United States.
She's going to look like
this is happening at Justice Department with his handpicked Attorney General. And yet, your father continues to be criticized for tipping the scale of justice and weaponizing the Department of Justice against, quote unquote, his enemies. Meanwhile, his own son is being prosecuted along these lines after a plea agreement was already signed.
Where I'm from, what you say to something like that is, you can't make this shit up.
I'm glad you put it in terms all of us can understand. You can't make this shit up.
Exactly. By the way, Dad gets so mad at me. He's like, you gotta stop cussing. You gotta stop cussing.
Well, I never heard you cuss like you did with Andrew when you did that first podcast. That was next level, man. So,
by the way, all earned. All earned. The difference between cussing.
And don't think I'm going to let you go without getting to a little bit of those more contemporary topics that triggered you back then. Not that I'm here to trigger you necessarily, but
I'm not triggered by
it. But a lot of it is worthy of some additional commentary. But it's a good segue then. Just the Department of Justice, this notion of weaponization. Of course, we've seen now Trump back in office. Your father feeling, I don't want to get down the rabbit hole of, your father, shifting his own mindset as it relates to the pardon at the end of the day, where he was sort of holding the line against it, and ultimately realized on the other side of this is what?
Yeah. Is this another thing that I really feel that if I sat in front of a lot of these people that have been an outsized voice within a conservative communities, there is no more MAGA in my opinion. Okay. And if it is, it's a very small percentage of what used to be called the Republican Party. But there is still a genuine conservative movement out there. And who's going to take the mantle of the intellectual forefront of that? I don't know. But I can't imagine not sitting in front of Tucker Carlson, looking him in the eye and saying, Tucker, my dad said that he wouldn't give me a pardon. And he was absolutely 100% genuine about it when he said he wouldn't give me a pardon. And he said it at a moment in time where he thought that he was going to be the next president of the United States, and there would be a Justice Department that would treat me fairly, and there would be a court system that would not be intimidated by a tyrant, that would not have an attorney general that is willing, that is to own personal attorney. Or at that time, if you remember correctly, is that Matt Gaetz was going to become the attorney general of the United States. Kash Patel is the head of the FBI. I would have been under the supervision of the Bureau of Federal Prisons and Probation. The idea that they would not have violated, I would not, look, for everything that I was convicted for, the idea that I would have gone to jail is zero under any circumstances. None. I was a first-time offender. I had never, non-violent, victimless crimes on both of them. I paid all my taxes with penalties and interest. Anybody that was in my position would have been in a payment plan with the IRS through a settlement. There's over $1.6 billion in taxes owed by over a million people that make over $1 million a year in the United States right now, every year, that have owed for over 5 years. By the way, I'm going to win the gun case. It's going to get overturned in the Supreme Court, I believe. Unfortunately, in the Hamani case that is about to come out.
Right. Yeah,
so, in a whether it was a Biden administration or whoever. By the way, if it was in a Mitt Romney administration, if it was in a John McCain administration, if it was in anybody that was an actual Republican and not a tyrant or a fascist, my dad would not have pardoned me because I could fend for myself in that system. I could take the lumps, I could continue on, and I would be okay. But the idea that you would leave anyone, and particularly your son, think about it from that respect. Literally, all your Fourth Amendment rights are gone. Search and seizure is no longer a constitutional right that you have an advantage of if you're a convicted felon. The ability for a probation officer at any time to enter your house without a warrant, to go into your room, to do anything that they want to do, to violate you in any way they choose at any time of day or night. And it would have been like having a gun to my family's head for the next 4 years at least. And so that's why he pardoned me. I mean, it's a really incredibly rational decision, and it was a really difficult decision. And you know how proud of my dad I am? Is the fact of the matter is he chose me over his legacy. Because no matter what you say, that's going to be one of the first things that is written about him. And that's how, I say to people, that's how much my dad loves me.
Oh, come on.
He chose me over his political legacy for that reason.
Hunter, I was with him the day you were indicted. We had a press conference out here in San Francisco. I was driving with him in the Bear, and that's a private story I'll share with you. There was pronounced, brother. But let me just look, and it segues to, just to the, all that shit you took, 24/7, surround sound, weaponization, all of that. And here we are, fast forward, with the Department of Justice. We can, we don't even need to, we can just blow past the January 6th stuff. Obviously, this $1.776 billion weaponization fund and all the mishigash there. But, come on, man. You brought up Junior, Eric, Kushner's, Albania, Witkoff's, Board of Peace, meme coins, UFC. I mean, you were tweeting about that today. Now there's a coin related to the UFC. We've got, forget the days of cologne. It's Bibles, and it's, First Lady Bibles, not just Trump Bibles. You've got sneakers. We've got phones. I mean, this grift is the likes of which you can't make this back to this. You can't make this shit up.
They ruined it all.
And everything you went through. Let's talk about that.
No one else can see it. Yeah, they literally, They ruin it all. Like, you know what? I like the UFC.
I think sometimes you're
No, I mean, I like watching it. They ruin it.
Things you don't really
They ruin it. It makes it hard.
think Ryan
Now,
got in your
do you know what I
head.
mean? It
No,
literally
it's
does,
not
because
that.
everybody's
It's
got to
something
choose a
that's not
side.
really
They
you.
have to
What
put
are
it
you
on the
doing,
goddamn
mate?
South Lawn.
Okay, to what?
And
Now
in the
you're
midst of
something
250th
else.
anniversary. I mean, I can't understand why Dana White. I don't have anything
Please
against
don't
Dana
lie.
White.
No.
But what the fuck, man? Like, it's your brand. Like, how are you doing this? How are you doing this? How is this appropriate? How is this appropriate? And I just don't get crypto. Let me take you to crypto. I was red pilled a long time ago as it relates to Bitcoin. I don't care. That I'm not meme coins. If you talk to anybody between the age of 18 and 35, meme culture and tokens are something that they fully, completely understand. And you know what? There was a lot of promise in that, a lot of freedom in that, a lot of an idea in which your level of attention could be something in which you could monetize, that you could do microtransactions and create communities with. They've totally distorted it and made it a total grift. I mean, look at Bitcoin. I love the idea of Bitcoin not coming from, I don't own any Bitcoin. I don't have two nickels to rub together. But the fact of the matter is that you have sorry to get off on this tangent. When I was the chairman of the board of the World Food Program, the UN World Food Program, largest humanitarian organization in the world, I ran the U.S. part of it, okay, which was responsible for 60% of its budget, which we went from, when I was chairman, from $1.6 billion a year to $2.4 billion a year, in which we were able to raise income out of U.S. interest. Fed 80 million people in 73 different countries on a daily basis, okay? So I would go to these hotspots. So when there was a typhoon or was a natural disaster or whether there's a war, and we would, and World Food Program is always the first on the ground because they have all the airlift of the UN. And so they bring in everybody else. And so it was critical. And one of the pieces is that when you bring in refugees into these places, is that they cannibalize the local economy, which is usually really unstable at the time anyway. And so you bring in all of this free food, and all of a sudden, then you are these subsistence farmers and these local shops and things. They get that nobody's going to them anymore. And so, what we wanted to do is we wanted to bring money into the communities, into the economy, and rather than making the refugees a drain on it, is that they're actually adding to it. And we had to figure out a way to be able to do microtransactions that could be go through cell phones, and it became the pilot program was incredibly successful. And you realize, like in places like Kibera, and which is the largest, former refugee slum in the world in Nairobi, and it is an entire working economy in which you can go into a shack that is the size of a closet to buy a Fanta soda with a flip phone, and for the equivalent of 17 cents. That's what cryptocurrency is, the true promise of it, outside of a banking system in which you have to go through VAT or you have to go through, and by the way, like, do I trust that or Jamie Dimon? Do you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what's the, and so anyway, my point is they sully everything. They sully everything. They tarnish everything. I mean, he made 37,000 trades in the first quarter of this year. Yep. 37,000 trades, more than most multi-billion-dollar hedge funds make in a single quarter. And I'm talking about, he is a hyper trader, and he's trading stocks in large numbers of companies like Dell,
Open the fucking
and
door.
Nvidia,
That thing's in the backyard.
and Apple, and which he's handing out billion-dollar contracts to. And by the way, those trades directly coincide with whatever action that he's taking. And we all sit here and go, and sorry to do this, but I have too much fun doing it. And, Jake Brick Tamlin Tapper sits and goes, but you know what? Jill Biden just wrote a book that said that she believed in her husband. And isn't that a crime? And it's like, what are you all fucking talking about? Excuse my language. Sorry. He's going to kill me. I swear to God. I told him, I promised I would I would try to stop cussing. But you know, to your point, it's I think, you know, it's Steve Bannon thing though.
Fuck you.
Okay,
You were scared too.
is that and you know this, and you're about to feel it in a way that's even more intense, which doesn't seem possible. I promise you it is, than it has been. Is a fire hose of falsehoods. They are just opening the spigot, and it becomes so overwhelming that even a captured press doesn't have the it makes it hard on any of them. I mean, what do you focus on? Do you focus on the gold shoes, or do you focus on the new coin that they just released, or do you focus on the $620 million Pentagon loan, largest ever made to any single company in the history of the United States of America, to Don Jr. for a startup company about rare earth minerals, and they say that I wasn't qualified to be on a board? I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, how in the world? Jared Kushner, $6.2 billion from Gulf State, all of it from Gulf State, $89 million in fees annually, at a minimum, before you get the carry on that. And he's taking it from people in which he's negotiating a war on behalf of the United States of America that nobody wanted with Iran, that their interests are directly tied to. Eric Trump, a $1.5 billion Israeli drone company that made its mark in Gaza with their drones, selling in, going public and selling into the DoD, because they merged with one of Eric's, golf companies or something. I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what the hell is, but they're open about it. They're standing there ringing the bell at the most, not on the front page. And meanwhile, New York Times had me on the front page for, I don't know, seemed like 4,680 days straight with, Ken Vogel doing these, writing long-form books about, whether or not they influence, what they're talking about, 85% of that. None of it had to do with any time when my dad was president. Any of the business deals that they're talking about all happened when my dad was neither president nor vice president. This whole 10% for the big guy thing, I didn't read that email. Some jackass wrote it to me trying to get me to be a part of the deal while my dad was out of office. Even if it was true, which we're supposed to believe that it's always an even weight, and it's not. There are facts and there is truth. And the truth is, they are more corrupt than any single administration of all the company. And I'm talking about Andrew Johnson corrupt. More than Andrew Johnson. I mean, go back and read your history. And I've read it. No one even remotely comes close. My line is if they ever leave the White House, they're going to steal the copper pipes.
Just one person, please. Anyone.
Well, he's already got the Declaration of Independence in the Oval, so I'm not sure he distinguishes whether or not it's ours or his.
Yeah, and by the way, he doesn't even know what it is. Remember when he pointed to it and he said, this? I forget. He referred to it as the Constitution or something. I mean, he really doesn't. He doesn't know the significance of that document and what it means to the American people. Just like he doesn't know the significance of what it means at that South Lawn, what it means to me. What it means to a normal person that has never been able to walk on that, and never had the privilege of walking out those doors to that South Lawn and thinking about that's where the helicopter took off with, with Lyndon Johnson when he left. That's where, that's the same lawn that Abraham Lincoln. There's the tree that Teddy Roosevelt planted, and he's putting a fucking cage, and he's putting on a show. Bread and circus. The question is what are we going to have to rebuild it? That's really what I think.
And Hunter, to that, and again, I'm mindful of our time, the Democratic Party, you made a oblique reference earlier in the conversation about the party. I mean, what is to you the Democratic Party? What is it? Is there a party?
Okay.
What is the party? Is the party
Yeah.
is your dad? Is it Bill and Hillary? Is it Barack?
I would be
Who is
interested.
the party? Nancy?
Yeah, it's all of it.
Schumer?
Okay, it's all of it. It's the one thing I always say. It's that Will Rogers line. I'm not a part of. I'm not a member of any organized party. I'm a Democrat, and that's so true. And you know it. Is this? Is that I've never known in my life. You've been doing this your whole life. When have we ever had a Democratic Party before we had a nominee?